Hi, welcome to class. We're the only two right now, but the other ones will show up eventually, right? I hate my life. I hate my life.
And Professor Sunreis Productions!
Hello class, Professor Sunreis here, and like I promised you guys, I'm gonna give you a replay analysis of me playing Brave Virtual post POTE, Path of the Power of the Elements against, I think it was an Adventurous Splight list, but it was slightly different from all the other Adventurous Splight lists which are currently running around. Definitely something quite interesting. I also did switch up the deck profile. I'm gonna, in this video, do like a very quick rundown of what I switched up with the deck and why I did that. So don't forget to like and subscribe and leave some feedback down below. Let's get right into the replay. And before we do that, we go over the profile real quick. So this is the profile which we are currently running with. I really like the core idea of the deck of playing the Brave, not playing the Brave stuff and just relying on the P.U.N.K stuff to be like the supportive engine of the Virtual. It just is a lot more consistent because it not only gets you into the Virtual engine, it acts in the same way of just giving you the disruption tool to stop your opponents. So it is on the same level as Virtuals, just so because it does give you disruption, but it's most importantly just another consistency tool. Also, it is a one-card starter together with the Pots of Prosperity, which I decided to include just to increase the consistency. This just makes Pot of Prosperity way better. Playing both of these stuff, like playing both the Brave and the P.U.N.K stuff, just adds way too many breaks into the deck. You have an Adventure, you have a Griffin, you have a Draco back, you have these two, you have the generic Virtual stuff. It just makes it so much worse. So in my opinion, it just didn't feel good. Playing a shit ton of hand traps, while in theory is quite good, the consistency you lose because of it, because you want to reliably get onto a lot of hand traps, is just not worth it in my opinion. Especially because you will basically have to play more than 40, and then you don't even have that much of like a consistent way to get too many hand traps, because getting 12 hand traps and 12 in a 40 card list is like next to impossible. And most importantly, Virtual doesn't really play too good with a lot of hand traps, because it just needs a lot of cards in hand and just usually just wants one equalizer and then use its quite good engine, especially with cards like Kowloon, Emergency Teleport, and just the way the engine works. It does play into boards quite well. So in my opinion, just getting best of both worlds in the most consistency in prosperities and the most consistent, quote unquote, or the most versatile and the most fitting to our deck archetype board breakers in just Dark Ruler and Droplet feels very good. The problem about prosperity is, and not playing hand traps, is that you don't really draw into enough disruption while doing the combo, and the end board of Virtual is quite fair. So we wanted something more unfair, and I decided to add the Scythe into the deck, which I've been really enjoying, especially because I made it so that having the extra card with these is fine, because I have 3 cards which I want to send off Beatrice, so drawing 1 is like super fine, and they act as really good discard fodder, especially a Trick Crown or a Snow are quite good to have in hand and just have a good discard. So overall, I really like this. I still have to tinker around with the side deck, especially. I've been really unhappy with that. And most importantly, of when to use Prosperity, what to banish. But that's what is testing for, so let's get right into the replay. Before we go into the replay, a quick something which I wanted to add is that while this deck feels super consistent, it does have problems with playing through hand traps, just because Beatrice is such an amazing or insane choke point, which the opponent will just imperm. I decided to ultimately add back the Tzolk'in package, just so that if we draw a shit ton of Virtuals, we can go for Crystal Wing before we go into the Beatrice, just so that we have extra disruption if the opponent decides to hand trap the Beatrice, or we have a way to protect our Beatrice from being ashed, veilered, whatsoever. Which is definitely something which I want to add. Though the problem is you will need a lot of Virtuals to go into Crystal Wing plus Beatrice, but overall I feel like it is the correct call, just because it is super fragile in the first place. So now we can go into the replay. So here we are in the replay. We are playing against Dragon 812. By the way, this is of course a custom match against a completely random person. So there will be misplays which will be just taken back, just because it is a testing session. We are all in the Power of the Elements waiting room. So you definitely should do that as well if you're testing. Take back replays. It just makes you better and makes you the most optimal route be stuck in your head way more effectively. So our opening hand, let's pause here for a second, is Gigi, Lulu, Lily, Chucha, Snow. By the way, I had to record this video twice because the first time the audio was all scuffed. I don't know what's wrong with that. I had that happen before, so I'm a little scared, but let's just focus about Yu-Gi-Oh! And the opponent is on Illusion of Chaos, Pot of Prosperity, Blue, Driver, and Pot of Prosperity. So quite a bad hand, and especially because we have full combo here. We will just FTK here. By the way, this is the amount of virtual names which you will need to go for Crystal Wing and Beatrice. You don't even need a hard draw Chucha or Snow for that. You can just go for it. So we normal summon Gigi, summon Lulu, send Janwoo, and add Kowloon. Of course, you always want to go for that route if you can. Activate the Kowloon, set the Chucha. This is where the misplay was. Definitely should have used Lily on the Lulu or on the Gigi, sending Qinglong and nothing else because we don't have the Chucha in our deck, of course. But that doesn't matter too much. We should have just done it because then we can go for a Coral Dragon and go for a Crystal Wing. And that way we could have had Crystal Wing Chucha on the field after we flip the Kowloon, of course. And then we can use Lao Lao with this Search of Qinglong, pitch any of those two, it doesn't matter. And then use Lao Lao on the Chucha, sending the Neon, which we then would have sent into the graveyard. Summoning Gigi, summoning Neon, Neon and Gigi go into Charge Warrior, get the second draw, and then Lao Lao and Charge Warrior go into Beatrice. Beatrice send Tricklown, Tricklown summon itself, take 1k, and then you use the Janwoo, banish it, discard the other card which we had, and then we resummon the Lao Lao, which we should have pitched off the Beatrice, so as a XYZ material, and then we had full combo plus Crystal Wing. That where we heavily play into hand traps. We do get the Chanshan on the board, which does play better into board breakers. But honestly, you don't really care about droplet too much because the opponent has to basically droplet for 3. They cannot use from the they can use from the field, but they have to droplet for 3 in standby phase. So only with quick effects like E-Tiller, Starter, stuff like that, and they still have to play through Chucha Snow. So honestly, definitely should have been the play. We decided to not go for that because I didn't know the route. I just in watching this replay, I just noticed it because I figured in-game I didn't have the materials, but I just was missing something. So we decided to go for Charge Warrior. We drew another Lily, which is a good follow-up. That definitely means we don't have to go for Gigi because we have another name in hand. Lily and Charge Warrior go into Beatrice, sending Tricklown, effect Tricklown. And then we decide to go for a Qinglong. Add Lao Lao, send Snow, and then Lao Lao on the Chucha. Sending a Qinglong, this does give us another form of follow-up, which we wouldn't have had in the play we would have done with Crystal Wing, but we would have had an OTK, an FTK with the Scythe, and we had a name in hand. So in my opinion, that is enough follow-up to do so. So now Lao Lao and Tricklown go into Fleur, and then we use the Janwoo, pitch the Chucha, summon the Lady, and we go for a Beatrice, not a Beatrice, a Shanshan. Definitely was played quite weird. I either should have gone for a Crystal Ring route, or I shouldn't have resummoned a Lulu, but rather I should have resummoned probably a Gigi and then used Janwoo on that. It's weird. And this was the correct route, I assume. No, I should have gone Lao Lao, resummoned Gigi, summon Neon, and then used Gigi Neon, go into Coral Dragon, go into Fleur, and then I had Lao Lao on field, and then I could have used Janwoo to resummon the Gigi. It did play into hand traps more heavily, but hand traps would have come down anyways. Nip would have come on the resolve here. Anyway, so we end on the whole FTK because the opponent doesn't have any hand traps. Definitely not played correctly, but this is what replays are for, of course. In draw phase, we activate Beatrice, send Scythe, in standby phase, Fleur, get Scythe, and we have the FTK. And of course, if the opponent would have had a droplet here, they would have need to use 3 or like 2 on Shenshen and Scythe, and then we still would have had Chucha plus Snow. So that's definitely something definitely safe enough in my opinion. So opponent is of course deciding to go first here. Our opening hand is Lily, Dark Ruler, Nian, Laula, Droplet. This is a fine hand. Just the only problem we have is that we die to 1 disruption on the opponent, and the first card in the opponent's hand is the Smashers, so it's looking kind of rough unless we get a good top deck. Opponent's hand, the rest of the hand is Temple, Starter, Blue, and Rite of Artemisia. So a very good hand, and I'm excited to see what the opponent is gonna do with it. Opponent of course starts out with the right here, summoning the getting Adventure out of the deck. Effect Enchantress to summon itself, to use Adventure to search Draco back, and then use Adventure to search Griffin, pitching Draco back of course, to get an Omni-Negate on the field of course, because an Omni-Negate is pretty good before you actually commit into anything. And now the opponent is deciding to go into Starter, summon Jet, search another Starter because they already have the blue in hand, that blue. Of course, you always search a red here because it's a monster negate. And then they overlay for Gigantic. They are summoning red here, which they cannot do, which I missed a little too late, and I was also lagging, so I couldn't tell the opponent fast enough. Splight will be summoning a Plague Spreader though, it doesn't really matter. So, here the opponent, I'm not German. Here the opponent takes the red summon back, Splight summon Plague. He could have summoned red here, it doesn't really matter. Summon Huggy Fibrex effect, summon Diviner. Cannot activate of course. Now Diviner and Huggy Fibrex go into Elf, which is definitely something very cool because now the opponent can summon the Diviner. Diviner sends Herald search Illusion of Chaos, which is definitely something very cool because you can get the draw off guaranteed in the combo. And now these go into a Darkda. I'm not 100% sure how they decided to pop the Darkda. Can Entis pop its own cards? I'm honestly gonna check out real quick. Elder Entity Entis, if it can pop its own cards. That's probably the way how they want to. Yes, so the opponent is probably wants to use main phase, use Elf, resummon Diviner, and then use Diviner to pop the Scythe, which they set off the Darkda. So that's probably the play, which is definitely something very cool. And I'm honestly excited and mostly scared about what Splight Adventure is gonna do, because I feel like it's gonna be the best deck of the format. There's definitely something between this and Toad Abuse in Brave Splites. It will just be very unfair, and also why I don't think hand traps will be good, especially if you can't play like consistently get 2 to 3, because the opponent will just have so many additional engines which will force out negates by themselves, be it an emergency teleport, be it a ride, be it an enchantress, be it the Splight Starter. Basically there's so much stuff out there which forces out hand traps, and if you can't consistently get to 2 to 3 and have your own game plan with 1-card combos, you will not be happy. So just getting Droplet Dark Ruler like that feels good, and then a Lava Golem post side of course. We decide to normal summon Neon here after we Dark Ruler them. They summoned the Carrots, so they still have 1 spell, Trap Negate, plus the Smashers. On summon, the opponent will put the Smashers on the Neon, which of course will make a scoop because we don't have any plays whatsoever. Sadly, no Punk engine to be seen this whole time here. So game 3, we decide of course to go first again. Opponent is on Illusion of Chaos, right, blue, Ogre Dance, Enchantress, so no hand traps whatsoever. We are on Deer Note, Prosperity, Snow, Kowloon, T-Barrier. Not the best hand, but we do have the Prosperity, so we can usually play, if the opponent doesn't have any hand traps, this is usually full combo because Prosperity is, I don't know the percentage yet, but it's super high to get one virtual name. It has to be higher than 85%, so it's usually like roughly in the round like 90 to 95%, I would assume, in 40 cards, because we already drew 5 and we excavate 6, so it's super high. We excavate Lulu, John Woo, emergency teleport, GG, Liddy. So of course we decide to take the Lulu here. Thinking about maybe we should have taken something else just because of Droll. Yeah, probably doesn't really matter. We sent Qinglong here at GG. Now we think, because we are like still new to this play, especially because we can't draw here anymore, we have to think about what we want to do here. GG on the Lulu, summon Janwu, send Janwu. Then we use the Qinglong on the to search Lily and send Snow. Here we use Lily on that to send a Qinglong and a Nian for follow-up and for extension, respectively. In hindsight, you could have also gone for a Lao play here, where you get Lao instead of that, but then you don't have a Qinglong. You could go for a Juju and then use Lao to resummon either Lulu or Gigi. These go into Beatrice. No, I think Lily is the correct play. It just gives follow-up and does the whole combo. So of course this is super fragile, but we didn't have anything whatsoever. So we could have gone for a Coral Dragon here. If we had a hard-drawn Chucha, you could argue just going for a Coral Dragon into Crystal Wing here could have been the correct play. And then use the John Woo on Gigi, resummon Nian, use Chucha on one of them, and then Shanshan. Just make Shanshan, Crystal Wing, Chucha, Snow, just so that we play through multiple hand traps better, especially because we have a D-Barrier as well. But we didn't have that. We only had Bricks plus Lulu Kowloon. So ultimately I decided to go for the FTK route again. It dies to one hand trap basically, but that's all we can do. And we still have D-Barrier, Snow, and Chucha, even if that one play gets stopped. So I feel like we should be fine. We use Beatrice here, send the Lily, send Trick Clown, effect Trick Clown. I really like this package, just playing that one Trick Clown to get you into Beatrice feels super clean. Take 1k, use John Woo to pitch Deer Note and resummon GG Nian. And now we will take a look at the banish, because I did actually a misclick / misplay. Because I decided to banish Coral Dragon, I did not decide, it was just a misclick. You definitely want to keep the Coral Dragon, because in the standard combo you use the Coral Dragon just as a level 6 tuner to go into Baron. Now that I think about it, you don't need it, right? What are Baron's requirements? I can't look at them, but you probably don't even need it. You can also just banish it and in the standard combo go for a Baron like that. Honestly, dumb here. You probably still want to keep it just because we didn't really have the ability to go for a Crystal Ring route here, so you can just banish that. Right, yeah, we didn't have the ability, so now we go into Coral Dragon. Now that I think about it, we can just go into Coral Dragon, into Beatrice. Beatrice, holy shit, I can't talk anymore. We can go into Baron just like that, because it just needs one tuner and one or more non-tuners. So yeah, definitely could have gone with that there. Accept the D-Barrier, end phase, GG, add back, Lulu. Then opponent draws an emergency teleport. The opponent head is quite stacked if you think about it. But they cannot do anything under Beatrice, of course, under Scythe. So the opponent decides to scoop. We will take a look at another game here because, of course, I just Scythe locked in a deck which had to play into any hand traps. So this is definitely something not like a very representative gameplay we did, but now we will have the opponent being on Smashers, right, emergency teleport, imperm, DD Crow, so 2 1-card combos plus 2 hand traps. This is like a super fine hand. You cannot complain about that at all. And we are on Dark Ruler, GG, Lulu, Scythe, Lulu. So we of course also have a good hand. Like starters, Scythe acts as an extender in a hand like this, so this is super fine to draw. Making it so that we are able to send a Snow to play through hand traps better. Like the opponent has them here. So normal summon Lulu, of course, because we have another Lulu in hand. Lulu effect. Yeah, we're just talking about the hand traps because the opponent didn't draw any at all. Send Janwu, add Kowloon. And then we use GG on the Lulu, sending a Quinglong here. Honestly, the opponent could have used the DD Crow here on the Quinglong, and then we would have had to go for what we could have done here. If the opponent used DD Crow on the Quinglong, we could have probably would have gone for a Charge Warrior, draw one, hope we draw a name, and if we don't draw a name, use John Woo to resummon GG and go for Coral, and then hopefully draw a name off that and end on Crystal Wing Chucha. But with an Imperm, we only would have ended on Chucha. So definitely DD Crow on the Quinglong, he could have been a correct play, but the opponent, I could have just had an additional name, and these two stop the FTK, which I do. You Imperm the Beatrice, and then you Crow the Scythe. So this is probably the safest bet to just save and hope you can play through the rest, which is not a lot of times. We activate the Chuchi here because we will not go for a Crystal Ring route, because we just don't have the ability to do so, because we don't have an Hard Draw Chuchi, for example. If we had a Hard Draw Chuchi here, we could have gone for that, but we didn't. So now we go for a Charge Warrior, effect to draw, we draw a Droplet, and then we use Quinglong on the to search a Lao Lao, pitching the Dark Ruler, use Lao Lao on the Chucha, sending Neon, summoning Lao Lao, summoning GG out of the grave, effect Neon. If the opponent does have a nib, they have it. Just gotta hope they don't have it here right now. But nib is probably not gonna be as popular in the main deck, as just because Splight is gonna be everywhere, and Splight doesn't really care about it at all. So Beatrice effect, send Lao Lao. Holy shit, my voice is gone. They're reading it, deciding not to Imperm here because we could have just set a snow on the opponent's standby phase and still have a decent amount of disruption. Send Trick Clown here. Effect Trick Clown summon itself. And then we decide to go for a Coral Dragon route here. Neon, I don't want to recycle anything because I want to have the additional banish piles, the cards in banish pile for Chucha in my turn as well. Maybe Trick Clown, Coral Dragon, go into Barone. Coral Dragon effect, draw GG. We already normaled, we already used GG, so we couldn't do anything else here. Now we use the John Woo, which is a misplay. We should have just kept it in graveyard, because we could have just popped the Scythe with the Fleur, of course, to summon the GG. Then we set the Droplet and we pass. Could have played it differently there. If we didn't send the John Woo, we could have gone for a Crystal Wing route. And then Chucha. We could have played safe and gone for Chucha, Crystal Wing, Chenshan. But because of hard drawn the Scythe, I was kind of feeling that depending on the format and how many hand traps and especially how prevalent Nip is gonna be, you will have to decide if you want to go for like an FTK road like this, or you want to play it conservatively and end on Chucha, Shenshen, Crystal Wing. If Shenshen is killer against the deck, you definitely want to go for a Shenshen, because just safer, and Shenshen can act like as an FTK as well. Like for example, against the Marincess deck, I would probably not go for that, and I would just keep go for like a Shenshen Crystal Ring route, just because it is so good against them. And you don't want to misplay like that and just waste your resources dumb like that. So opponent draws, I think it was the Souls, yes. So in draw phase we decide to use the Beatrice here to send a snow. Gotta love the additional disruption here. And then use the in standby phase, attempt to use Fleur. The opponent is deciding to stay in draw phase, of course. Impermanence on the Fleur. We negate that. Then DD Crow on the Scythe. Let's see, you can target one to return this card, and if you do so, I still would have recycled my Fleur, which he wants to prevent, just because making another Fleur is really good. So opponent decides to activate Enchantress. So here we're thinking, okay, of course you want to keep the Chucha for the Brave Engine, but I was thinking, okay, the opponent probably doesn't have the Brave Engine because they would have used the Brave Engine beforehand to protect the P.U.N.K engine, and then I'm thinking, okay, maybe they still do have it, and I want to pop this because I want to save my resources and play around the talents, which is definitely something which could be in the decks right now. It's just a very good gassy card to play through hard negate boards like the Splight deck does or the T Elements deck does. So ultimately I decided to just choo-choo this because if the opponent does have the Brave Engine, they would need another gassy card. And we still have that one snow, so they have that one. If they have exactly Ride plus another playable hand, which they have when Soul's Ride, we can just pop this with Chucha, and then they Ride, and then they go for a Griffin, Draco back, pop the set, we chain Droplet on the Griffin, and then we just know the one remaining play they have. This is just what happens here because we decide, okay, just pop the Chucha. It does play around Talents the best, so if they had like Talents here, it still would have been fine. Even if they had Talents, Souls right here, we still would have been fine. Unless they, I mean, then they can Talents on after you use the snow, but we get rid of most of the opponent's playable cards. And even then, we still have a shit ton of follow-up. So, opponent decides to activate Brave here. A quick thing here, Effect Adventure. Just get rid of the Smashers. I can't talk anymore. Summon Griffin. Effect of that. Get the Draco back. Bounce the back row. We chain it, of course. Getting rid of Beatrice. Because I'm not playing Gaia Charge Warrior, Beatrice doesn't really have any value here anymore. Gaia could have been cool, and I'm still tinkering with the extra deck just to get to know what the most important cards will be for the extra deck. But yeah, so it doesn't have any value, and a virtual card, of course, can always be used to activate a virtual dawn, of course. So Griffin will be negated here. Of course, they cannot chain, but of course they would never want to. And then the last card in hand is the Souls, which of course we can just snow to stop the opponent's plays immediately. And in the following turn, we could have just used Flirt to get rid of the Griffin, like pop it, and then have to negate it, and then we can just normal summon Gigi and then play Lulu, and we basically just win. You also could have used Barone to, probably the play would have been to use Barone to recycle and then summon Snow and Snow on the Griffin. So yeah, the opponent cannot do anything here. We are taking a look at what the opponent would have drawn here. If I didn't have a Droplet, they would have had the Armin and Griffin, so they could have normal summoned the Armin, and the Armin plus Souls or thing token go into Hulk. Hulk summon Diviner. Diviner summons Gigantic. Like Diviner and Hulk go into Gigantic, and then they can make some plays here and there, but probably they wouldn't have had enough resources to break the whole board here. Especially with the follow-up we had. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like I said, I'm still tinkering with the deck, but I feel like on the right track, just because it's the most consistent way to play virtual possible. The amount of consistency increase the P.U.N.K engine gives you is insane. Don't be stuck on the Brave engine like I've been. In my opinion, just playing the most consistent virtual build is very good, just because the engine itself is super strong, it's super versatile. Chanshin is a powerhouse against so many rogue decks, against everything else you can scythe block, you have the ability to do, especially if hand traps get less prevalent because of all the broken decks right now. You can definitely benefit of that, and if the meta decides to switch to hard anti-decks like Eldritch, you still have a very good matchup against those just because of Chucha. So don't sleep on virtual, guys, but here on this channel, of course, we are all Mami Chanshin enjoyers. So hope you guys enjoyed this replay analysis. Class is out, you guys are dismissed. You are free to leave. Professor Sunreis out. Peace.